Ambassador William Carter stood at the large window of Earth's delegation headquarters on Nexus Prime. His aged face reflected in the glass as he watched the 3 moons rise over the capital world of the Galactic Council. 73 years had passed since humanity joined the Council. 73 years of struggle, compromise, and increasing frustration. "They denied our request again, sir," said Commander Olivia Martinez as she entered the room. Her uniform was crisp, her posture straight as always. As head of security for Earth's delegation, she had attended the meeting alongside Carter. Carter nodded without turning. "The 3rd time, they watch our outer colonies burn and do nothing. The Draconid raids have destroyed 7 settlements in the past month alone. Over 3,000 dead," Martinez said, placing a datapad on the table. "The Council claims there is insufficient evidence of organized attacks." Carter finally turned to face her. His blue eyes were tired but sharp. "We both know what this is about. They fear us, Olivia. Humanity advanced too quickly for their comfort." The door slid open again. A tall, blue-skinned figure with 4 arms entered. Councillor Zaktharl, the Arcturian representative and humanity's only true ally on the Council, looked around nervously. "I should not be here," Zaktharl said, his voice low. "If they discover I came to you directly—" "What is it, old friend?" Carter asked, gesturing to a chair. Catharl remained standing. "The Hegemony faction led by Vexnor has submitted a proposal. It will be voted on next week." He handed Carter a small crystal data drive. "They plan to classify humans as a supervised species with limited self-governance rights. They will restrict your technological advancement, limit your fleet size, and place monitors in all human research facilities." Martinez swore under her breath. Carter's face hardened as he inserted the drive into his terminal. The text confirmed everything Zaktharl had said. "This is outrageous," Carter said. "After all we've contributed to the Council." "There is more," Zaktharl continued. "Some believe the Draconid raids are not random. The timing is too convenient." Carter looked up sharply. "You're suggesting Council involvement?" "I suggest nothing," Zaktharl said carefully. "I merely observe that those who wish to see humanity controlled would benefit from your need for protection." After Zaktharl left, Carter turned to Martinez. "Put our best people on this. I want evidence if there's any to be found." "On it," Martinez nodded, already heading for the door. 4 days later, Commander Martinez entered Carter's office without knocking. Her face was flushed with anger. "We found it," she said, slamming a datapad on his desk. "Financial transfers from shell companies linked to Vexnor's personal accounts. They lead directly to known Draconid warlords. The attacks on our colonies were paid for by the same people now offering to protect us." Carter studied the evidence carefully. "This could bring down Vexnor and his entire faction." "If the Council acknowledges it," Martinez said. "That's a big if." Carter stood up. Decision made. "Prepare a secure channel to President Wright and alert our delegation. We're calling an emergency session." The Council chamber was a massive dome with seats for representatives of over 200 species. The central platform where speakers stood was surrounded by rising tiers of delegates. Grand Minister Vexnor presided from an elevated position, his gray-scaled skin and elaborate robes making him look like a creature from Earth's ancient myths. "The human delegation calls this emergency session without proper protocol," Vexnor said, his voice carrying disapproval. "What matter is so urgent, Ambassador Carter?" Carter walked to the center platform, Martinez beside him carrying evidence, files. The room hushed as they took position. "Honorable representatives of the Galactic Council," Carter began. "For 73 years, humanity has been a loyal member of this body. We have shared our unique innovations, traded fairly, and fought alongside you when threats emerged. Yet recently, our outer colonies have suffered devastating attacks." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Carter continued, his voice growing stronger. 3 times we have requested Council intervention against these Draconid raids. 3 times we were denied due to insufficient evidence of organized attacks. He nodded to Martinez, who activated the main display. Today, we present evidence that these attacks were not random acts of piracy, but coordinated strikes funded by members of this very council. The chamber erupted. Financial records, communication logs, and shipping manifests appeared on screens. Throughout the room, Vexnor rose from his seat, face contorted with anger. These accusations are outrageous. This is fabricated. The evidence has been verified by 3 independent sources, Carter cut in, including one from your own world, Minister Vexnor. Carter turned to address the entire chamber now. But this betrayal goes even further. We have learned of plans to designate humanity as a supervised species, stripping away our autonomy and the rights guaranteed when we joined this council. He looked directly at Vexnor. You orchestrated attacks on our people so you could then claim we need supervision. You fear what we might become. The chamber was in chaos now. Some delegates shouted for order. Others demanded investigation. Councillor Zakatharl stood silently, eyes locked with Carter's in silent support. Carter raised his hands for quiet. When the room finally settled, his voice was calm but firm. For 73 years we believed in the promise of this council. Peace, cooperation, mutual advancement. Today, that belief ends. He activated his personal communication device. On screens around the chamber, the Earth President appeared. Eleanor Wright's face was solemn as she nodded to Carter. By executive order of United Earth Government as ratified by the Solar Parliament, I hereby give formal notice of humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, effective immediately, Carter announced. All treaties, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts will be considered void in 30 standard days. The stunned silence lasted only moments before the chamber exploded into noise. Carter and Martinez turned and walked toward the exit, followed by the entire human delegation. Vexnor's voice cut through the chaos. This is meaningless posturing. You cannot survive without council protection. Without our markets, your economy will collapse within a year. Carter paused at the doorway and looked back. Perhaps, or perhaps you never truly understood what humanity is capable of. As the doors closed behind them, Martinez asked quietly, "What now, sir?" "Now," said Carter, "we show them exactly what they should have feared all along." Outside the chamber, Vexnor huddled with his allies. "Let them leave," he said dismissively. "They will come crawling back when the reality of isolation sets in." An aide leaned close to his ear. "Sir, initial reports show human delegations on all council worlds are already preparing for departure. Their merchant fleets are changing course. Something about this feels planned." For the first time, Vexnor felt a flutter of uncertainty. On the steps of the council building, Ambassador Carter looked up at the stars, toward the direction of Earth, 70 light-years distant. "It begins," he said quietly. And across the galaxy, the universe shuddered. President Eleanor Wright stood at the window of her office in the United Earth Government headquarters in New Geneva. 3 months had passed since humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. The winter snow fell gently outside, but inside the atmosphere was anything but calm. "Madam President, Admiral Blackwell has arrived," her assistant announced. Admiral Joseph Blackwell entered, his uniform decorated with the insignia of Earth's defense forces. At 62, his face showed the lines of someone who had seen many battles, but his eyes remained sharp and alert. "Admiral, your report?" Wright asked, gesturing for him to sit. "The recall is 96% complete," Blackwell said. "Nearly all human citizens have returned from council worlds. The remaining 4% are mostly scientists and diplomats who chose to stay. We're monitoring their situations closely." Wright nodded. "And our defense readiness?" Blackwell allowed himself a small smile. "Phase 1 of the Prometheus Protocol is active across all inner colonies. Dr. Garcia's team has exceeded expectations." A holographic display appeared between them, showing Earth's solar system and nearby colonies. Blue dots represented human outposts, while red indicated potential council threats. "Our merchant ships have activated their hidden defense systems," Blackwell continued. "The council representatives were quite surprised when their inspectors discovered our freighters have military-grade shields. One Draconid attempt to raid a transport near Alpha Centauri was educational for them. Casualties? Wright asked. None. On our side, 2 Draconid vessels disabled. We left their crews in escape pods with enough supplies to survive until their allies found them. Wright walked to a large table where a physical map of known space was displayed. Small models represented fleet positions. And the Council's response? Exactly as we expected. Confusion, then anger, now economic sanctions. They've forbidden member worlds from trading with us. He paused. However, Trade Minister Montgomery reports that 17 non-council species have already reached out through back channels. They want trade agreements independent of council oversight. Wright smiled. The council never understood that control and influence are not the same thing. The tower opened again and Dr. Samuel Garcia entered. The chief scientist looked tired but excited. His simple clothes contrasted with the formal attire of the others, and his hands were stained with ink. Dr. Garcia, Wright greeted him. I hear the Prometheus protocol exceeded expectations. Garcia nodded enthusiastically. Phase 1 is fully operational. The defensive grid can now detect council ships before they exit hyperspace near our worlds. But that's not why I'm here. He placed a small device on the table. It projected a complex diagram of interconnected energy fields. We've completed initial testing of the Lazarus Array, he said. Instant communication across up to 50 light-years. Completely independent of council relay networks. Wright looked impressed. You're ahead of schedule. We've been developing this technology for decades, Garcia said. We just weren't sharing our progress with the council. A soft tone indicated an incoming priority message. Wright activated the display to see Trade Minister Lisa Montgomery. Madam President, Montgomery began, her expression serious. The Independent Commerce Initiative is gaining momentum. 6 former council associate members have signed preliminary agreements. But there's more. The Krell conglomerate is requesting a direct meeting. Wright raised an eyebrow. The Krell, though council members controlled nearly 30% of the mining operations in 3 sectors. Their interests suggested cracks forming in council unity. Arrange it, Wright said, and send Ambassador Carter to conduct the negotiations. After the call ended, Blackwell looked concerned. Carter? The council considers him the face of our rebellion. Sending him might be seen as provocative. Exactly, Wright said. I want them to know we're not hiding. A week later, on the neutral trading post of Omega Station, Ambassador Carter met the Krell delegation. The station orbited a lifeless moon, far from major travel routes, making it perfect for discreet meetings. Ambassador Carter, the lead Krell, representative said, his stone-like skin glittering under the station lights. My government sends greetings. Spokesperson Grax, Carter replied. I appreciate your willingness to meet despite council sanctions. Grax's crystalline eyes studied Carter carefully. The council's economic policies have become restrictive. Many members suffer while pretending to support these sanctions against humanity, and the Krell wish to explore alternatives. We wish to survive, Ambassador. The sudden absence of human trade has created shortages of key materials and technologies across 17 sectors. Carter nodded. We anticipated this. That's why we proposed the Independent Commerce Initiative. He activated a holographic display showing trade routes and resource exchanges that bypassed council control. Direct trade between willing partners, free from council tariffs and restrictions. Grax studied the proposal. This would violate council law. Only if discovered, Carter replied. And we have ways to ensure it won't be. Before Grax could respond, Commander Martinez entered the room urgently. Ambassador, we have a situation. A council military task force just seized the research outpost on Europa. They've taken 53 scientists into custody, claiming they were developing prohibited weapons. Carter's face darkened. Were they? No, sir. It was an agricultural research station developing crops for low-gravity environments. Carter turned to Grax. It seems the council is escalating beyond economic sanctions. Grax appeared troubled. This was not approved by the full council. This sounds like Vexnor's faction acting independently. Carter's expression remained calm, but his voice carried steel. Please convey to your government that humanity will respond to this provocation, not with anger, but with clarity of purpose. After the Krell departed, Martinez looked at Carter. Sir, what will our response be? Contact Admiral Blackwell. Tell him to activate the Frontier Defense Grid. Carter stared out at the stars. And send a message to Captain Harris. The Defiance is now operational. Across the void of space on a hidden shipyard orbiting Jupiter, Captain Daniel Harris received the message. He stood on the bridge of humanity's most advanced warship, a vessel built in secret during the last years of Council membership. The Defiance was unlike any ship humanity had revealed to the Council. Its smooth, dark hull absorbed sensor scans. Its engines used technology humanity had developed but kept hidden. Its weapons were beyond anything the Council believed humans capable of creating. Captain, his first officer said, we've received deployment orders. Harris nodded. Prepare the crew. We launch in 6 hours. He looked at the ship status display. After decades of preparation, years of secret development, the moment had arrived. Send a message to Europa, he ordered. Tell our people to be ready. We're coming for them. On Nexus Prime, Grand Minister Vexnor received news of the Europa operation with satisfaction. Let them protest, he told his advisors. Without council support, they have no recourse. Their technology is generations behind our military capabilities. And Aide approached nervously. Minister, our intelligence network reports unusual activity in human space, multiple unidentified energy signatures, and several of our monitoring buoys near their territory have gone silent. Vexnor dismissed the concern with a wave. They're bluffing. Humans are resourceful but limited. Within months they'll beg to rejoin the Council. Across the galaxy, the Defiance moved silently through space, its true capabilities still unknown to the Council. And as it accelerated toward Europa, the universe shuddered once again. The Europa rescue mission took exactly 9 hours. Captain Daniel Harris stood on the bridge of the Defiance as his crew monitored the return shuttles bringing the captured scientists aboard. All personnel recovered, Captain, reported his second in command. 53 scientists and 12 support staff. No casualties on either side. Harris nodded. And the Council garrison? Left in their barracks, sir. We locked them in, but they have supplies for a month. Their communication systems are disabled, but their life support remains functional. Harris allowed himself a small smile. The Council forces had not fired a single shot. They had not even seen the human strike team until it was too late. The advanced stealth technology that humanity had kept hidden for decades had worked perfectly. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. As the Defiance vanished into the darkness of space, the Council troops on Europa finally managed to break out of their barracks. Their commander stared at the empty research station in disbelief. The humans had come and gone like ghosts, taking everything of value and leaving no trace of how they had done it. 6 months after humanity's withdrawal from the Council, General Catherine Powell stood in the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, officers monitored screens showing human colony worlds and defense stations. The Frontier Defense Grid was now fully operational. Report from the Proxima Centauri sector, General, an officer called out. Another Council scout ship, detected at the edge of the system. That's the 5th this week. Powell frowned. They're testing our detection capabilities. What about our intelligence assets in Council space? Director Ryan Summers, head of Earth's Intelligence Bureau, stepped forward. His plain clothes and ordinary appearance concealed one of the sharpest minds in human space. Our networks remain intact, Summers said. The Council never identified most of our agents. We're getting reliable information from 86 worlds, including Nexus Prime. And, Powell asked, they're preparing for war, Catherine. Summers displayed a series of images showing Council military vessels gathering at strategic points. Vexnor has convinced enough Council members to support a containment operation against Earth. Their fleet will be ready in approximately 60 days. Powell studied the images. Numbers? At least 300 capital ships, maybe twice that. In support vessels. Powell tapped her command console. A three-dimensional map of space around Earth appeared, showing the positions of human defenses. Can we hold? Summers looked grim. Not indefinitely, not against those numbers. Then we don't play defense, Powell said. Contact Admiral Blackwell, it's time for Operation Daybreak. On the other side of the galaxy, Ambassador Carter sat across from Counselor Zektharl in a small room on the neutral world of Haven. The blue-skinned Arcturian looked tired. His exile from the Council had taken its toll. 27 species, William, Zektharl said. That's how many have secretly contacted me expressing doubts about the Council's path. Many fear what Vexnor is pushing them toward. Carter nodded. War benefits no one except those who have staked their reputations on human submission. The Council fleet gathers even now, Zektharl warned. They will come to your world soon. We know, Carter said. We've been preparing for this possibility since before we joined the Council. Zektharl looked surprised. That was 73 years ago. Carter smiled. Humans think ahead, old friend. We hoped for the best while preparing for the worst. He activated a small device on the table. A hologram appeared showing a document titled The Galactic Concordat. This is our proposal for a new interstellar alliance, Carter explained. Equal representation for all member species, mutual defense, fair trade, everything the Council claimed to offer but never delivered. Zektharl studied the document. You want me to present this to the dissatisfied species? We want you to lead them, alongside humanity, Carter said. The Council's time is ending. What replaces it should be better. Back on Earth, Dr. Samuel Garcia entered President Wright's office, his face showing a mix of exhaustion and triumph. The Helios network is ready, Madam President, he announced. We can activate it whenever you give the order. Wright looked up from her desk. Side effects? As expected. Council ships will be unable to use their FTL drives within the network's range. Our ships and those of our allies will be unaffected. Wright considered this information. The Helios network was perhaps humanity's most closely guarded secret, a system that could selectively disrupt faster-than-light travel. Once activated, it would trap any Council military vessels that had entered human space. How long have we had this capability, Doctor? Garcia looked slightly embarrassed. The theory was proven 40 years ago. The technology has been deployment-ready for at least 15. Wright shook her head in wonder. And the Council never suspected? We compartmentalized the research across 27 facilities. No single scientist knew the full scope except the project leaders. Wright turned to look at the world map on her wall. Have we become what they feared, Samuel? A species so paranoid we built doomsday weapons in secret while smiling at Council meetings? No, Madam President, Garcia said firmly. We built defenses, not planet killers. We prepared for a day we hoped would never come. The President sighed. Activate the Helios network, and may history judge us kindly. On Nexus Prime, Grand Minister Vexnor addressed the Council, his voice filled with righteous anger. The humans have proven themselves unworthy of galactic citizenship. Their technology violates Council restrictions. Their military actions against our Europa outpost cannot go unanswered. The chamber was less full than it had once been. Nearly 30 species had stopped attending sessions in the months since humanity's departure. The containment fleet will depart in 2 standard weeks, Vexnor continued. We will secure human space and bring them back under proper supervision. A junior aide approached and whispered urgently in his ear. Vexnor's scaled face showed shock. Impossible, he hissed. But across Council space, reports were flooding in. Human vessels had appeared simultaneously at 23 strategic locations. The secret shipyards humanity had maintained beyond Council detection had launched their fleets. And at the edge of human territory, the first wave of Council scout ships suddenly found themselves unable to engage their FTL drives. They were trapped, their faster vessels now useless, The Helios network had activated. Operation Daybreak had begun. In Earth orbit, Grand Admiral Nicole Foster stood on the bridge of the command vessel Determination. Around her, the greatest fleet humanity had ever assembled, prepared to move out. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her communications officer announced. Foster looked at the tactical display. The pieces were in place. Decades of preparation were about to be tested. "Signal all vessels," she ordered. "Execute Operation Daybreak." As humanity's hidden strength finally revealed itself in full, the universe shuddered once more. But this time, even Vexnor understood that nothing would ever be the same again. Operation Daybreak changed everything in just 12 hours. Human forces secured 23 strategic locations across former Council space. The Helios network trapped Council scout ships, unable to use their faster-than-light drives to escape or call for help. On the bridge of the Determination, Grand Admiral Nicole Foster studied the tactical display. The main Council fleet approached Proxima Centauri, unaware that their advanced scouts were already captured. "All ships in position," Admiral reported, her second-in-command. "The Council fleet will arrive in 20 minutes. Foster nodded. "Activate Phase 2 of the Helios network when they exit FTL. Then deploy all vessels according to Battle Plan Omega." When the Council fleet appeared at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, they expected to find a few human defensive ships, easy targets for their superior numbers. Instead, they found themselves facing 300 human warships, arranged in a formation no Council tactician had ever seen. Supreme Commander Drek Thar, leader of the Council forces, stared at his sensor display in disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered. "Their ships, these readings cannot be correct." "Sir," his sensor officer said, voice shaking, "we're detecting energy signatures far beyond known human technology, and our FTL drives are not responding." Before Drek Thar could process this information, the human fleet moved. They did not advance in the predictable patterns Council military academies taught. Instead, they flowed like water, breaking into smaller groups that surrounded Council vessels before they could organize. "Open fire," Drek Thar ordered. Council weapons launched, but most missed their targets. The human vessels moved too quickly, their maneuvers too unpredictable. And when Council weapons did hit, they struck shields far stronger than humans were supposed to possess. Then the human ships returned fire. Precision beams of energy cut through Council defenses with surgical accuracy. They targeted weapons systems and engines, avoiding crew quarters where possible. "They're disabling our ships, not destroying them," Drek Thar realized. This was not a battle of extermination, it was a demonstration. Within 4 hours, half the Council fleet was disabled. Escape was impossible with their FTL drives offline. Drek Thar saw only one option. "Send the surrender signal," he ordered. On Nexus Prime, Grand Minister Vexnor received the news of the fleet's surrender with stunned silence. Around him, the Council chamber erupted in chaos. "You assured us they were primitive," shouted the Volron representative. "You said their technology was generations behind ours." "They hid their true capabilities," Vexnor said weakly. "They deceived us all." "No," said a voice from the back of the chamber. A minor delegate from a small world stood up. "They simply did not show us everything. There is a difference." Before Vexnor could respond, more reports flooded in. Human forces had captured the Arcturus Gateway, controlling access to 37 Council worlds. The truth about Vexnor's involvement with the Draconid raids was spreading across Council communication networks. On 29 worlds, citizens were protesting in the streets, demanding answers from their representatives. "We must negotiate," said the Tellarite delegate, a moderate who had often urged caution against Vexnor's aggressive policies. "Before we lose everything." In Earth orbit, Ambassador Carter received the Council's request for peace talks with a calm nod. He had expected this, though perhaps not so quickly. He contacted President Wright immediately. "They're ready to talk," he told her. "And not just the Council. 27 independent species want to join the discussions. They see this as a chance to create something better." Wright studied the reports from across former Council space. Is the Galactic Concordat ready? The final draft is complete, Carter confirmed. Equal representation for all species. Mutual defense. True partnership. Then let's show them a better way forward, Wright said. Set up the meeting on neutral ground. Somewhere symbolic. The peace conference took place on Haven, the world where Carter and Zak'Tharl had first discussed the Concordat. Representatives from 112 species gathered in a great hall built for the occasion. Supreme Commander Drekthar, released from captivity to attend the talks, approached Admiral Blackwell during a break in the negotiations. I must. No, he said. How long could humans have defeated the Council? Blackwell considered the question. Militarily, probably 30 years. But that was never our goal. Then what was? To be treated as equals. To be respected, not feared or controlled. Blackwell looked around the hall, where former enemies now spoke as potential allies. We wanted what's happening right now. The signing of the Terra Accords lasted 3 days. Each species added their name to the document establishing the Galactic Concordat. Fexnor, stripped of his position, watched from the back of the hall as his replacement signed for their world. When the final signature was added, Carter addressed the gathering. Today marks not an ending, but a beginning, he said. For too long the galaxy operated under principles of control and fear. The strong dominated the weak. Innovation was suppressed if it threatened the established order. He gestured to the signed document. The Concordat offers a different path, one where all voices matter, where cooperation replaces domination, where we face the unknown together, as equals. 6 months later, the new Concordat headquarters was completed. Built in neutral space, the circular structure had no top or bottom, symbolizing equality among all member species. Director Summers met Carter on the observation deck as delegates arrived for the first formal session. Did you ever think it would work out this way? Summers asked, watching ships from across the galaxy dock at the station. We planned for every possibility, Carter said. We built weapons we hoped never to use. We created defenses in case of betrayal. But this, he gestured at the gathering below them, this was always the best outcome. Thousands of light years away, on what had once been a human colony world devastated by Draconid raids, new cities rose from the ruins. Humans worked alongside species from across the galaxy, rebuilding together what conflict had destroyed. A young human child played with a young Arcturian, neither aware of the history that had once set their peoples against each other. An old council historian, documenting the events that led to the Concordat, wrote, "The day humans left the Galactic Council was the day the universe shuddered, not from fear, as many believed at the time, but from the seismic shift of a new order being born. The universe had indeed shuddered, and then, at last, it had begun to heal." 5 years passed since the formation of the Galactic Concordat. The new alliance had grown to include 147 species. The circular headquarters, now called Unity Station, had expanded 3 times to accommodate new members. Ambassador William Carter walked through the main concourse, nodding to representatives from across the galaxy. At 79, his hair had turned completely white, but his eyes remained sharp and alert. Many called him the architect of the new galactic order. Ambassador, called a familiar voice. Counselor Zak'Tharl approached, his blue skin showing signs of age as well. The Arcturian had become the first elected chairperson of the Concordat. Chairperson Zak'Tharl. Carter greeted him with a smile. How are the expansion talks going? Better than expected. The Vrel Collective has agreed to join. That brings the entire Cygnus arm under Concordat protection. They walked together toward the observation deck. Below them, ships from hundreds of worlds moved in organized patterns around the station. The new trade routes are showing excellent results. Zak'Tharl continued. Economic growth is up 16% across all member worlds. Even former council strongholds are thriving. Carter nodded. And the technology exchange program? Exceeding all projections. The medical advances alone have improved life expectancy on 39 worlds. They paused at the large window overlooking Earth. visible as a blue jewel in the distance. 5 years, Carter said quietly. Sometimes it feels like yesterday we were fighting for survival. Other times it seems like another lifetime. Do you ever regret it? Zika Tharl asked. Keeping so many secrets during your council years? Carter considered the question. We did what was necessary. The council never intended to treat us as equals. They saw our potential and feared it. And now? Now we show them what could have been possible all along. Partnership instead of control. Mutual growth instead of suppression. On a former council, Core World, Lorena Prime, Grand Minister Vexnor lived in quiet exile. His scaled skin had dulled with age, his once powerful frame now bent. He sat in a small garden, watching news from across the Concordat on a portable screen. A human reporter stood before the new Concordat Science Academy. Today marks the 5th anniversary of the Concordat's formation. The exchange program has shared advanced technology with over 100 worlds, raising living standards and extending lifespans across the galaxy. Vexnor switched off the screen with a bitter gesture. 5 years of watching everything he built crumble. 5 years of seeing the humans he had tried to contain now leading a galactic renaissance. A shadow fell across him. He looked up to see an unexpected visitor, Admiral Blackwell. Vexnor said, surprised. What brings a human military leader to visit a disgraced politician? Joseph Blackwell, now in his late 60s but still standing straight in his uniform, took a seat across from him. History, Blackwell said simply. I wanted to meet the person who inadvertently changed the galaxy. Vexnor made a dismissive sound. You came to gloat. No, I came to understand. You weren't wrong about everything, you know. The former Grand Minister looked up, surprised. Humans were dangerous, Blackwell continued. We had been preparing for conflict since before we joined the Council. We built weapons in secret. We hid our true capabilities. Then why deny it all? These years? Because your mistake wasn't in seeing us as a threat. It was in how you responded to that threat. Blackwell leaned forward. You chose control and suppression. You could have chosen partnership. Vexnor was silent for a long moment. Would it have made a difference? We'll never know, Blackwell said. But I suspect that if the Council had truly embraced humanity as equals, we would have responded in kind. Back on Unity Station, President Eleanor Wright attended her final official function before retirement. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from across the Concordat. At 74, she had served through the most transformative period in human history. President Wright, said Dr. Samuel Garcia, approaching with a small group of scientists. The Helios network modifications are complete. With the improvements from the Krell engineers, the system now supports faster travel across all Concordat space. Wright smiled. The same technology that once trapped Council ships now helps everyone move more efficiently. There's poetry in that, Samuel? There's wisdom in it, Garcia replied. What was once a weapon is now a tool for progress. Commander Olivia Martinez, now General Martinez and head of the Concordat Defense Force, joined them. The integration of the combined fleet is complete, Madam President. 86 species now serve together under unified command. Wright looked around the hall, where former enemies now work together as allies. Not bad for a species the Council wanted to contain, wouldn't you say? Later that evening, Carter and Wright stood alone on the residential deck, looking out at the stars. I received a message from Admiral Blackwell, Wright said. He visited Vexnor today. Carter raised an eyebrow. Closure? Understanding, I think. She paused. Joseph said something interesting. He told Vexnor that he wasn't wrong to see us as dangerous. He wasn't, Carter agreed. We were dangerous. We still are. The difference is how we use that strength, Wright said. On a distant frontier world called Haven's Hope, a mixed community of humans and 6 other species celebrated the completion of their new medical center. The facility contained technology from across the Concordat, healing methods developed by different species now working together. A human doctor worked alongside a Krell engineer, calibrating equipment. A child from Vexnor's homeworld played, with human children in the waiting area, all born after the formation of the Concordat and knowing nothing of the old conflicts. The universe had indeed changed. The old barriers of fear and suspicion were falling, replaced by cooperation and shared purpose. Species that once viewed each other with distrust now built a future together. In the Concordat archives, a young historian researched the events that led to the current era. She paused at an entry from the early days, a quote from Ambassador Carter's first address to the newly formed alliance. "The day humans left the Galactic Council was the day the universe shuddered. It marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. Not a human era, but an era of true partnership. Not domination by any one species, but cooperation among all. The old order fell not because it was conquered, but because something better took its place." The historian smiled. 5 years later, those words had proven true beyond anyone's expectations. The universe had shuddered, and in that moment of change, something remarkable had been born.